Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's live stream, Beyond the Software, How Customer Success Drives Warehouse Excellence. I'm your moderator and host, John Monarch from the PESTI Group, and today we're tackling a topic that's critical for every warehouse, customer success and how it drives real operational results. We all know that technology alone does not make a warehouse more efficient. True success comes from the people and the processes that work along with the software. So that's where customer success makes all the difference. To unpack this, I'm joined by two experts from SnapFulfil, Cheree Brewer and Adam Biggs. Both are account managers who work directly with the customers to ensure that they get the most out of their WMS. Welcome, Cheree and Adam, if you want to introduce yourselves.
Hello. So I'm Cheree. I'm a U.S. account manager here at SnapFulfil. I've been here for about 3.5 years now. Previously, I was in operations and a user of SnapFulfil. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Very glad to have you. And Adam.
I'm Adam. I'm one of the UK account managers over in the UK. I've been at the company for around about, for my sins, 4.5 years. Spent 3.5 years on the service desk within the team, and then promoted on to account management. Before then, worked in numerous softwares, medical software, things like that. Even worked in a quarry, and now I've ended up here.
Very cool. Well, cool. We'll jump right in. And I've got question one with Cheree. Let's start off with you. From your perspective, why is customer success such a critical component in warehouse management today?
So we'll talk more later about our approach to account management here at SnapFulfil, but it kind of ties in here as well. From a high level, we like to take a bit of a different approach. My background in operations allows for a more collaborative approach with our clients. It's a key factor in customer success here as it draws in our system and how we can drive operational success. An understanding of our client's operational process is pretty key. We continuously evaluate process improvement opportunities, and the result of that is increased efficiency and the overall goal, of course, increased customer experience. We like to work with both operations and IT. It's crucial in getting alignment from our clients and just ensure that we consider all things. Customer success, though, is not just tied to operational processes. We like to partner with our clients in growing their business. What does 3 to 5 years from now look like? How do we grow together? In the short term, what are the low-hanging fruit we can tackle now to help the business, and what's deemed, your highest priorities to get to the highest success? So we try to consider these, and as we grow and develop our partnership with our clients.
Very cool. And it's very true. If you don't have operational buy-in, it's kind of, the executives have bought a piece of software that might, not get utilized as best as it can, or in a worst case scenario, it doesn't get used at all, unfortunately. And it makes sense for everyone involved to maximize that and to really have full buy-in from the warehouse floor all the way up to the executive team.
Yeah. And we'll talk more later about this, about how we conduct on-sites, but we do see that a lot where, they're not taking full use of our solution. And so we can kind of address that while we're on site as well.
Almost like a coach in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Adam, we'll jump over to you. What are some common challenges you see customers facing when trying to get the most out of a WMS like SnapFulfil?
Yeah. I mean, one of the main ones that I've come across recently, since I've been in account management, is things like government changes, government policy changes, things like that. As you know, from our side, we've had things like Brexit, things like that, the Windsor Framework, which is all taken into account. Yourselves will have things like tariffs, things like that. So government changes can take have a big impact on what the operation are going to be doing, because obviously if the government tells you to do something, you do it, sort of thing, with that sort of line. Within there as well, there's things like I've noticed a few things around where super users, in quotes, super users, not knowing all the features, whether it be on board whilst they're onboarding, they're not unless they're not noticed or things like that. Many things like that. I've seen things come across, resource issues, you know, staff change, you have turnover of staff, which that goes back to the super users. If a super user disappears during the implementation, you've got to spend another bit of time training up another person. So there's things like that where, if they're not keeping an eye on things, it can cause an issue. One of the main ones I'm seeing most of all is things like key phrases getting thrown around at the minute. The big things, we've got automation and AI, some of the biggest things. And it's if a client comes into us not understanding the full scope of what's needed with that can cause a few problems with it. But then it's about, from that point, we then turn around and then, like you said earlier, John, we coach them and teach them how to do that. So there's quite a few things going around for why clients may not perhaps know what features are in the software as much as they should, sort of thing.
It's also very true. Government wields quite a big hammer, and it isn't always expected when you don't necessarily think about the fourth and fifth order impacts of policy coming down to the warehouse floor. And that's something that I'm sure you guys have to help clients consider.
Exactly. It's not just always looking at the first load that hits you. It's about getting what happens after. That's exactly right.
So continuing with that, Adam, how does SnapFulfil's customer success approach help warehouses kind of anticipate and overcome challenges before they really become an issue?
Yeah. I mean, with that, the way I sort of go around it is to say that, when the customer success team gets involved, you've then got a designated, not just one of the designated team members who will be, sort of on back and call for you almost. You've got they've got access to then the development team. So really, in aspect, you kind of got almost a way in straight away into, first of all, you get designated, then development. So it enables you to be able to ask those questions almost proactively rather than reactively. So you can then get, during the process of when you're speccing up the scope of the project and everything, that's the time you can start asking for questions, because you will only have one member in that team. They're the owner of that project, so they'll be able to then take in the questions and then go through the processes to improve on what we're working on, really.
And it really sounds like that's not just an initial process, but Cheree, could you walk us through how your team helps customers optimize SnapFulfil past the go live even? Because there's a lot leading up to it, but I mean, you can't just push the baby bird out of the nest, right? You're still helping as we go along. So how do you help help them get long-term operational gains?
Yeah. So I guess in order to get to the long-term, we have to start with the short-term, right? The critical piece of that is that clients are used to more of like a white glove experience with the implementation process. They have direct connection with their project manager. So we start with the handover process, which we feel is very critical. I tend to have meetings internally with the project manager to go over kind of the full scope of the project, a high level summary of it. What challenges are they facing? Is there going to be something that they're going to bring straight to the account manager when we start that relationship? So we'll do that. And then we hold an external handover as well. With the broader team, we go through kind of how do you get in touch with our support team. We have a chat functionality that gives them direct access. They're able to call in, email, phone. So they really feel like they're getting, that same experience as they're handed over. So that starts the relationship. And then from there, we'll schedule like a more in-depth introduction with the account manager. What does our approach to account management look like? When do we escalate and things of that sort? So we'll kind of go through that, introduce our customer success team, and some of their larger projects, integrations, modifications, those will go through our customer success team. And like Adam was saying, when they do go through that, they have a more higher touch. They have a dedicated resource that they can do. And then we'll schedule some regular touch bases as needed. I have a lot of project boards with our clients. If there's, open priorities that they have, if there's contract changes that need to occur. Some of the higher priority items we like to stay in touch with, see what their progress looks like, get some quick wins out of it, and then eventually move to a less frequent touch base. So as they get familiar with how SnapFulfil works, our support team, as they become more business as usual, the end goal is to have, a less of a touch base there, and then just reach out as needed. Earlier we spoke about our approach to account management. We like to take a more proactive approach here at SnapFulfil rather than just being an escalation point where, they get a hold of us when it's in dire need. We're kind of aware, because of the strategic approach that we take, we're kind of aware of their priorities, so we can work internally with our development team, our customer success team, even our support team. Hey, this is a high priority ticket. Can we get this taken, take a look at this? So they're not just coming to us when there's a fire. We also conduct on-sites, as I was saying earlier. This helps us as we can see on paper what their processes look like, but we are able to really take a deeper dive into what the process flow looks like, meet in person with them and kind of go through. We might have some quick wins while we're on site, and we can put something in test and test it right there and move it live, and we can see an instant efficiency gain from something quick. And then we also spoke about the on-site kind of helps them as they learn more about the functionality. Like maybe they weren't aware, we're going through their receiving process and we see, hey, you're not utilizing this functionality, what do you think of this? And then it drives a project and helping them become more efficient. So I think just having that on-site and having those regular touch bases is important for the success through the customer experience.
So I'd like to add a little on to that. And Adam, I'd like your opinion here, but oftentimes people see account management and customer success as these two discrete things, right? Like they're completely separate and no one really knows like the handoff, because if account management always feels like sales, but customer success is the ongoing. But I feel like at SnapFulfil, you have, there's not just that, there's like a handshake and you're involved as you go on. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's not to sort of blow our own trumpets, but with the account management, we tend to be a bit more. We're like an internal project management. Once the ball gets rolling with it, like Cheree's mentioned, once the ball gets we'll have ball rolling. We'll have internal meetings, things like that, to go through, make sure all processes are being followed, and then even though, like you said, John, people think it's account management and customer success, but really we're like almost a feeder to them. Without account management, you wouldn't have customer success, and vice versa, really. So it's about one of the big things I always go through is communication within the transparency and communication within the team, so everybody knows what they're doing, everybody knows what they've got to do, and then it's about giving the client that experience that there's a process, it's being followed all the way through.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's especially, everyone's seen it in software companies before where you have an account manager and then all of a sudden you're handed off and you never speak to them again. And it's, you've worked to build this relationship with the account manager and the client, and then all of a sudden the account manager just disappears. And it's, it's a really disjointed process, it feels like, in traditional teams with software, but SnapFulfil really is going above and beyond and keeping that a more consistent flow.
Exactly.
So I've got a question for both of you. Cheree, we'll start with you, but without naming names, can you share an example of a customer who's really benefited from this proactive customer success approach? And what did they do that gave them those improvements?
Yeah, so one of our 3PLs, we kind of, through our customer success team, we have different approaches, right? So we're able to put together a specific scope of work, spec out a modification and very detailed. But with this customer, we decided that it was better that we have an open scope of work. So they have just a dedicated resource with CST. They use that resource as needed, and in the meantime, our customer success team has trained them on, our business rules and some of the back end, so they're able to, set it up themselves. And so they've been able to work hand in hand with us. And now just this week, they're going to go live with a new owner that they've set up themselves. And so I think just having that collaborative approach and being open to, sometimes it makes sense to have a set scope of work. We stay, within that. And then other times it makes sense to just have it open, use as needed. And I think that's really helped the customer experience here. We had another client, they were feeling a little bit unsupported, and so we did an on-site with them, and we were able to bring in a dedicated support resource. So not only are we bringing in a higher level customer success team members, we also have support members that they've taken on some of their higher priority tickets, and so they were able to kind of support us in turning that relationship around as well.
Adam, how about you? Without naming names, what's an example of a customer that's really benefited from this approach and a measurable outcome?
Yeah. With myself, we have a billing module within SnapFulfil, and we implemented a client who were quite large, and they needed to add on to that basically. So, working with the customer success team, we managed to. As you can imagine, with billing, there's changes here, there, and everywhere with it. Everyone will agree, especially accounts departments in companies. And we worked together and had to look at how their accounts work and how their accounts team works, and then how our software works within that accounts team. So we managed to get it resolved. It took a while, but we all got there, and it just took a lot of. It was a lot of toing and froing, a lot of meetings, but because of those meetings, because of good relationships, it went through quite smoothly. So it's one of the positive ones.
Very cool. So last question here, we're going to ask you each for 2 to 3 things that companies can start today to strengthen their customer success strategy and get more out of a WMS like SnapFulfil. So we'll start with Cheree.
Okay. I think taking a strategic approach, right, is key. We have clients that have growth opportunities. We have clients that are high revenue generating. We have accounts that might be at risk. And I think Adam spoke on it earlier about change management. I think that's key too, and understanding, hey, we have some new players that are with the business that we really might have to have a little higher touch there. And also, you said getting buy-in, right, from the operation. We also need buy-in internally as well, right? And our development teams, our support teams, CST, they have to understand the priorities of our clients as well, and what that looks like on our side and what to focus on too. So I think having buy-in both internally and externally is important. I think continuing that relationship and not having them feel like, oh, we went from a PM to an AM and an account manager, and now we haven't heard from them, like you were saying. I think it's important to continue those touch bases and stay ahead of things. The other thing is the on-sites that we do, I think is extremely valuable. Like I said, seeing the operation and having those quick wins, and then even if there's takeaways, understanding the operation, and we can discuss that internally as well and what we found.
Absolutely. And Adam, how about you? 2 to 3 things companies can start doing to strengthen their customer success and get more out of their WMS.
Yeah. Mine will be based more on what the people would. It's more invest in knowledge, hire hungry people. The world's changing. Hire those people who are hungry to learn more. That's one of the things I'd always suggest. As I mentioned before, communication, transparency. It's always, it helps so much. And I did say it before as well, do some homework. If you want, in which avenue you want to go down, even though there are WMS providers out there, obviously, but they can't tell you exactly where you need to go. You need to make the decision. So it's about doing homework and, sort of just having a look at what you want and putting time and effort into it. I know they're a bit of a cliche, but they always work.
Absolutely. And well, that's a wrap on today's discussion. Huge thank you to Cheree Brewer and Adam Biggs for sharing insights and experience. And thank you everyone for watching, both live and recorded. If you'd like to revisit this session or share it with a colleague, it'll be available on demand here on LinkedIn immediately after we go off. So be sure to follow us on LinkedIn for updates for our next live stream. And we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Cheers, John. Thank you.
Thank you.